Kלים Chavches, Mishnah base. Pochos mishloisha al shloisha. Just to recap, there are actually 4 ways a standard beged, a piece of cloth, can be able to be makabel tumah. One is if it is a makabel, it's formed into a pouch, into a purse, into a bag, kli kibble. One is, of course, if it's a beged or a piece of cloth made for medras, made for sitting on, medras. The third one, as you've had before, an orig, a beged which is sholem, something which is woven, even if it hasn't got a shear, as long as it's a dover sholem, it's called a dover orig. The fourth one is we had a standard piece of cloth, not formed into a beged, as long as it has the requisite shear of sholosh al sholosh etzbois, a very small piece of cloth. It is able to be makabel all tumas except for tumas medras. But there's another condition. For a piece of cloth of gimel etzbois, al gimel etzbois, to be able to be makabel tumah, it has to be ro'ui, or to be part of a garment. In other words, it can be made as a patch, as a taloi on a beged. If you have a small piece of cloth which is not able or not meyuchad to be a taloi, to be a patch for wearing, for example, these are the cases of the Mishnah here, poches mishloisha al shloisha, which is another way of saying a piece of cloth more than 3 by 3 etzbois. It's less than 3 by 3 tfachim, but it's more than 3 by 3 etzbois. If sheskinoi lofuk boyes hamerchetz, if you've designated, you prepared this piece of cloth not to be used as a part of a garment, but just to use as a bung, as a stopper, to crump it up and use it as a stopper to put into the bath, into the sink. Or l'nair bois hakdera. It's hot, the kedera is hot, and you need something to hold, to grip the handle, so you have a little piece of cloth to use to protect your hands from the heat. Or l'kanech bois erachaim was a shmata, just to wipe something. What the Mishnah is going to say now, that these 3 uses are specific uses, not for levisha. You've now decided that this piece of cloth isn't going to be a beged for a patch for a talai. If you had just mazmin the cloth, just decided, right, I'm going to use this cloth for these purposes, that's not enough. The cloth is still able to be makabel tumah, because just a simple machshava doesn't do the trick. You've actually got to do a maaseh, which proves that now you intend not to use the cloth for levish as a malbush. And the Gemara says there are 3 different ways you can do this. If you actually take the piece of cloth and you throw it into the ashpa, then according to everybody, that's called a bittul of malbush and is now tahor. If you put it, the other 2 methods are, you can either hang it on a hook, saying, okay, I'm going to put it on the hook so that I can use it for one of these tashmishim, lofuk bois hamerchas, l'nar bois hakdera, l'kanech bois erachaim. I'm going to hang on the hook. Or another way you can do it is actually just to take the piece of cloth and throw it on the floor behind the door and saying, I'm going to throw it there to use it as a shmata. Says the Tanakama, Bein muchen, bein she'ena muchen tomei, divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer holds, both those cases, the one where you hang it on the hook, or the one where you throw it on the floor, both those cases, tomei, you have not yet been mevatel the beged by just throwing it on the floor, hanging it on the hook. These 2 cases are called muchen and ena muchen. When you hang it on the door, that's called the case of muchen. When you throw it on the floor behind you, that's called the case of eino muchen. Tanakama holds that whether muchen or eino muchen, both these cases are not enough of a bittul to say that you've now been mevatel the shear of gimel etzbois by gimel etzbois for levisha. Rabbi Yeshua says no, I can be mechalek between these 2 cases. Sorry, Rabbi Yeshua holds, again, in both cases, you've been successful in being mevatel the piece of beged. Bein min hamuchen, bein she'ena min hamuchen tahor. It doesn't matter whether you've hung it on a hook or whether you've chucked it on the floor. In all these cases, you've been mevatel this little piece of cloth from being roy as a malbush, and therefore it's toher. Rabbi Kiva is machalik. He says, min hamuchan tome, where you've actually put it on the hook to be used as a shmata, that's a real masa of designating this cloth to be. Sorry, got it wrong. Kiva says, where you put it on the hook, then you haven't completely been mevatel it to use as a shmata. The fact that you've hung it on a hook shows that you still want to use it as a lavush. You're still treating it with a bit of respect. Therefore, you haven't been mevatel it. It's tomei. But where you've actually discarded it, chucked it on the floor next to the door, and he said, right, there it is, a shmata on the floor. In such a case, he says, you've been mevatel this little piece of gimelet spois by gimelet spois. It is now not a piece of beged used as a taloi, as a malbush, and therefore it is now toher.